Yo, what's up, guys? It's another episode of Beanie Blues. I'm LSB, and as you can see, I was popping him out there. Damn, this fucking. Oop, this way, yeah. There's Shoulder. Hey, Shoulder, what's up, man?
Yo,
Yes, we have special guest Shoulder on the show, and
yeah,
say hello to everybody, Shoulder.
how's everyone doing?
Hey, everybody's doing okay. Everybody's doing
Sure,
okay. At least I hope so. I hope all you guys are doing all right. Sounds like everybody's doing all right anyway. And yeah, this is kind of a special episode. Like, we're not going to really, focus on a lot of stuff that's been happening on the forum right this second. We're kind of going to focus on one thing, and one thing alone. And that one thing is DLC, downloadable content. That stuff that, you click and buy and should be on, like, the game already, but you have to pay for it after you already paid for the Wait, Shoulder feels different about DLC than I feel different about DLC. In terms of DLC, like in general, Shoulder, how do you feel like about DLC? Like, do you like it? Do you feel it's beneficial? Do you see any negative aspects to it? Now we're talking about this DLC as a whole in general.
DLC to me as a whole is not bad. To me, it reminds me of when we used to get expansion packs back in the day before they had downloadable content.
Expansion
That
packs, I remember that. There wasn't
mhm.
that was like more on PC though than on
It was more of a
console,
decent thing, yes. I
right?
mean, I remember the very first Call of Duty, very first Call of Duty way back in what was it, 2000 two or three or something like that.
Oh, I'm not even sure. Gee, that's a good
And then about a
question.
year later, they came out with an expansion pack. I think it was done by Treyarch. I can't remember offhand, but I think it was Treyarch who did the expansion. Or no, maybe it wasn't Treyarch. I'm sorry, I don't remember. But anyway, it was called United Offensive. That
Oh yeah,
added.
I remember this. I remember that.
Hmm. Yeah,
It was on like the PC, but they brought it later on to the console, then as like a standalone game or some shit like that.
I don't remember that, but
Anyway, continue.
whether it
I'm sorry,
was
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, no, that's okay. But whether it was that or even though, let's say, Diablo 2 back in the day that had Diablo 2, the standalone game, and then they had the expansion Lords of Destruction.
Yeah.
And that was out. And so basically, prior to DLC coming around, you had expansion packs, which means you had, anywhere from between a few hours to maybe even tens of hours of extra content. And, of course, other areas of replay value. But
So
now
this
it's
all like
done.
started on PC then, huh?
I believe so. I mean, maybe it didn't. Maybe it actually did start in consoles or something like that. But I'm pretty sure it did pretty much start on PC. Uh,
That sounds pretty right to me. I mean, because I never really had heard of DLC before, but I remember the expansion packs and things like that for a lot of the PC games I never really got to
mhm.
play because I never had a PC as a kid. But
Right.
I used to read about these things in a lot of the video game magazines and stuff. I remember reading about all these different expansions for some of these franchises and things, like a lot of role playing games and like Might and Magic. And I remember reading about all kinds of different stuff on PC. And I guess the evolution of that maybe is like what we know today as downloadable content, for the console games. Is basically, specifically, is what I'm kind of getting at. Because on
Hmm.
PC you got modders and stuff. I mean, you got people making their own content, different things like that. It's like a whole different ball game on PC. But when it comes to DLC, it's like I think I think DLC, like, to me, is more console specific, or like handheld specific. I don't know. I kind of look at like PC catching up with the DLC now, like, because the PC's doing DLC a lot like the consoles have been doing it. They're not really doing the expansion packs and stuff like that as much as they're, you know, kind of carbon copying, I guess, what's going on with the DLC.
Right. I think with DLC though, it is. It seems like it used to be something where similar to expansion packs, you buy, you spend a few bucks on, let's say, extra campaign or something that could add maybe a couple of extra hours of content. But now they're adding character skins and extra weapons and all this other extra fluff, which Personally, why don't they just offer that for free? Why does it have to be paid? I mean, granted, there is free DLC, then there's also paid DLC, so maybe that's a whole different conversation there. But I think
free DLC is just like here, add bonus content. I mean,
right. It's just really,
who doesn't appreciate free DLC? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's like the paid DLC is, I think, what we're talking about. Just
Right,
because this is where like people are kind of divided on like whether or not it's kind of good for the industry or not. Like gamers aren't getting full games is basically what people are trying to say. I kind of feel that way to a certain extent. Like I think a lot of people take it to extremes, like where they're talking about, oh, I'm not getting the full game and this and that. And it's like, yes, you're getting a full game. People get pissed off though when they drop the day one DLC. I mean, especially day one DLC that's already on the disc, and I mean stuff like that is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of despicable.
Yeah, I think so too. Especially when it's already on the disc, and basically they essentially just lock it out, so you have to pay more money to unlock content that is already on the disc that you paid $60 for, if it was $60.
Right.
And that to me is where, I mean, it's really just it's these publishers trying to just ink every single extra dollar or cent out of us. So you spend, let's say, $60 on a game, and now with all these extra DLC, let's say, season pass is a little different, but with all these little extra, things you spend 99 cents on, $1 on, or whatever, you spend, 10, 15 bucks of that. Before you know it, you spend 75 bucks or so on a game that you normally spend 60 bucks on.
Yeah, I think that's where people are getting pissed off, is like now they're coming out with all of these ways to charge you more for a game, like because the cost of the games have been going up over the years, and yet the price of them has stayed relatively the same, but people still don't want to pay more than the average $60 fee. So what the companies are trying to do is they're trying to add in the bonus content to get you to pay, because they need to recoup their money, and they're greedy, they want more money. I mean, it's possible if a game is a real hit that they could recoup their money fucking 100 times over. I mean, just look at games like Grand Theft Auto. I mean, look how many copies they sold of that. And, I mean, look how many millions of dollars it took for them to make it, to me, it's kind of just like a cop-out. Like, it's just like, just be honest. You guys just want more money.
They do.
And in some cases, it kind of, I don't know. I guess it benefits us. I mean, not all DLC is worth the money, I would imagine. There's some really crappy fucking DLC out there.
Well, when you take some DLC, one good example I can come up with, because I was a sucker for it, was pretty much all the DLC that came out of Burnout Paradise back in the day.
Burnout Paradise.
And I bought most of the DLC for that. Big Surf Island, like the movie car pack, the motorcycle DLC, and a couple of other ones. But not like the Cops and Robbers or the go-kart ones. There was a couple of them I did not buy, but almost all the other ones I did. And before you know it, I realized I spent like an extra $30 on a game that I already spent $60 for. So you figure I spend about $90 on a game. And yes, there will be people out there who will say, well, I spend that much of my money where I live, maybe somewhere like Australia or South America or Europe, or wherever.
Right.
My point though is that you're spending extra money for something that you've already spent, full price on, I guess, if you want to call it.
Well, what is considered full price these days, though? I mean, for the longest time, there's been kind of not really too much of a fluctuation about the price of games. It did go up there for a second. Like I remember with the N64 cartridges, before everything started going to the CDs and stuff, and the N64 cart, Nintendo was still doing the cartridges. They were charging more. I mean, the Electronic Boutique, all the game stores that were around then, like Funcoland and stuff. I mean, they were charging premium prices for these N64 carts just to recoup some of the money that, they weren't making trying to sell them for $60 anymore. I remember the games being like $69.99, $79.99, $89.99. Yeah, $89.99.
Back in the 90s.
Yeah, and if you think about it, like after a while though, it tapered off and it kind of dwindled back down to the $60 mark, and it kind of hovered around there, either $60 or less. But now we're seeing that hike again with these special ultimate editions of like fucking Battlefield Hardline. I mean, there's fucking like 3 or 4 versions on Origin to buy this fucking game. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And season passes, don't forget season passes.
Oh, and the season passes. It's fucking, oh my, it's just too much, you know. In a lot of ways, it's just like overwhelming the DLC. But at the same time, it's like, what do you think? We're fucking stupid? Like, you know what I mean? Like, are you really trying to get over on us? Like that this is anything more than about recouping more money on the games? I mean, because the cost of development on DLC is usually cheaper than the actual base game. Because you got to think they already have the tools. I mean, they already have the development software. Basically, all they got to do is come up with a little something new, rather than like building the game from scratch, like from the ground up. And it's like they make more money, in my opinion, off DLC than they do off the actual games.
Yeah, and I guess another way to think about it is you know, some of them they don't want to spend like I said, they don't want to spend the millions of extra dollars to make a whole new game. So they allow certain games to have an extended lifespan, and they do that by creating DLC. And that's sort of what Nintendo is doing with, let's say, Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, and we're getting into Nintendo. We're finally getting into, you know, Nintendo and DLC. Now, as far as Nintendo and DLC goes, I mean, what do you think about them? Do you feel the same way about Nintendo DLC that you do about DLC, you know, just in general? Or do you feel a little bit differently about it than you do?
Well, kind of what I was trying, I guess, you know, while I think, you know, the little things for DLC, you know, like character skins, little things that you spend 99 cents for or whatever, but then when you get, let's say, full packages of content, like what you got for the DLC packs for Mario Kart 8,
right.
You know, you buy them together, they were $11.99 US dollars. And quite frankly, for what you got, I mean, extra, you know, a few hours of content, plus all the fact that now they have the recent update last week was like
the multiplayer gets expanded exponentially. I mean, it was already the shit. Now it's like even more so with all this stuff.
So, you know, it's clear that Nintendo are trying to extend the lifespan of Mario Kart 8, and they're doing it with both the DLC packs, which, you know, quite frankly, you know, I paid for the whole bundle, and I've not played DLC pack 2 though, but I definitely played DLC pack 1. Still have not, you know.
We all played 200 CC. We had like the big tournament with IGN versus us and stuff, and we've all played it extensively. I know I have, and I can tell you right now, it's just a good value, if not more so than the last pack that they came out with. I have to agree with you on this 100%. I feel like the value is here with the Mario Kart 8 DLC.
Right.
The price is right and the content is there. But at the same time, if you look at it from a whole, now you've paid 72.
72, yeah.
Right? $72 for Mario Kart 8?
Basically.
Right. So now, but anybody that wants to play Mario Kart 8 online cannot, like, ignore this DLC. Like, they have to download it. Basically, if they want to be able to play with their friends that are downloading this is all part of what I'm talking about as far as DLC is. It's like a domino effect. It's like one person gets it and they want to play with their friends, and then they're like, well, I got to get it because they're getting it and everybody else is getting it. And basically, you feel like left out if you're not getting all the content. You know what I mean? Like, it's part of like what drives, I think, the whole DLC phenomenon, because it really is a phenomenon now. Like, DLC is like a beast unto itself. It's become its own kind of game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, its own kind of genre is DLC. It's just almost expected now with almost every single game that gets released. And now Nintendo's jumping on the bandwagon. And I have to say that I feel like there are certain things that Nintendo are doing wrong, and I'll talk about that next. But as far as what we're talking about right now and what's in the back and what you guys are looking at, the pack 2 for the DLC, the pack 1, the bundle that you got, because I didn't buy them separately. I bought them in the bundle, and I thought it was just a great value. This was a great value. This is DLC done right in terms of how Nintendo should look forward to the future in how they're delivering DLC to the Nintendo fans. I mean, how do you feel about it? I feel like this is a epic win as far as the DLC for Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is too. And obviously, one of the things I think you mentioned this, or someone else did. Why don't they maybe instead of creating all this DLC, just make a whole new game? But then you get into the same situation with the DLC altogether. These guys are playing that DLC, I have to have it. Or if the scenario was a new game, these guys have this new game, I have to get this game.
Right. So it's like a domino effect. It's like a chain reaction.
It's a double standard.
Yeah.
We like the way how the DLC for Mario Kart 8 is handled, but at the same time, if you want to get that experience, you have to pay the extra money. So it's
a double-edged sword, like you said.
Exactly. There's two ways about it, and so.
But in this case, I really feel like you're getting a great value. You're getting. See, I got the European thing right here, and it's talking about it in pounds, or euros, or whatever it is that they use in fucking England. I'm not.
They use pounds in Britain.
Do they use pounds? Yeah, so the British pound. And basically, in America, I felt like it was fair. I'm not exactly sure how the Europeans feel about it, but I felt it was really fair. And then as far as the 200cc is concerned, how do you feel about that? And the only reason I ask you about this is because this was absolutely free. This didn't cost anybody anything. This is the kind of DLC that we were talking about before, the free DLC that they just kind of give out to people for extra content. And a lot of people don't consider this to be DLC, but I do. I consider this to be a free DLC. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
without a doubt.
In respects, yes.
Yeah, in a lot of respects, if you ask me. I mean, it changes the game exponentially in a lot of ways, especially the way that you play it. I'm kind of the opinion that I'm not really fond of 200cc. I just don't like the way that it controls. It's just very chaotic.
I have yet to play 200cc mode. I was going to play some last night, and I never got around to it. So
I think you'll enjoy it because you like racing and the fast games, and you play a lot of Need for Speed. I think you'll be able to handle the 200cc rather easily.
I can't
or the transition anyway, from 150cc. I think you'll make the transition just fine, honestly.
Braking though. Oh wait, there's no brake there.
Mario Kart 8 epic win when it comes to the DLC. I can't say enough good things about it. It's good stuff from Nintendo. Now there's one thing I would like to mention, and that's the Hyrule Warriors. Now this is DLC in my opinion done just to the extreme. I don't know if you've ever been on the the eShop and seen how much DLC is available for Hyrule Warriors. Like, it's ridiculous how much, that there is. I mean, it just goes on and on. Now this is a trailer for the Master Quest pack, but trust me when I tell you that the eShop there's like 11 of these motherfucking things. It's ridiculous how much DLC. Now, I'm not saying the DLC isn't worth it to the fans who like this game and all that, but to me, it's just like so much content. I mean, I looked at the price. Like, if you added up all the fucking money you'd have to spend to have like all of the DLC for this game and actually get like the full experience, I would suppose you'd call it, to have everything that they've created to be able to play this game and enjoy everything that's in it, it's like over $100. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like, it makes me mad. Like, I wanted to get this game. I wanted to, like, get into Hyrule Warriors and because I like these kind of hack 'em, slash 'em games. But the DLC has kept me, it just stopped me in my tracks. It made me want to ignore this game 100%, just, like, completely ignore it.
A counterpoint to that, though, would be, how many hours of gaming you get with that money. I mean, I don't have Hyrule Warriors, so I can't speak for how long, but I would imagine
then you got to think about the quality of the gameplay.
Tens of hours of gameplay, and then of course you get these extra DLC packs. for more money, yes, for more money and stuff like that, but you got even more hours of gameplay. So I imagine there's probably a good 100, 150 hours worth of, gameplay, I'm sure, especially if you want to, be a completionist and get everything. And then, of course, people buy, will pay $60 for, sometimes a game that'll beat in 5 hours, and then the multiplayer is nothing revolutionary or anything like that. But multiplayer in itself can be tens and tens of hours, hundreds of hours of gameplay right there. So, I guess it's sort of your mileage may vary.
Right. To me, this is just like, it scared me away. All the DLC, having to think about having to purchase all of that just to like get the full experience, because I'm like that kind of gamer that wants to get everything out of their game. You know what I mean? And it makes me mad when I have to spend so much money like to get that, especially in a game like Hyrule Warriors, where it's probably a lot of reskins and a lot of, like a lot of reskins. I mean, a lot of content that basically revolves around different characters doing the same kind of basic gameplay. Like the gameplay principles are exactly the same. That's another thing that I don't like. See, this is something they learned from Koei. I don't know if you've ever like seen like on the PS3 or like the Xbox 360 like a Koei game where like the DLC that's available for some of these games, how many different outfits and bullshit characters and all this stuff, and the prices that are outrageous. It's like, it would drive you nuts. I feel like with Hyrule Warriors, Koei like kind of took the front seat when it came to the DLC, and that's why we see like so much of it. Because if you compare it to other Koei games in the terms of the DLC department, it's very similar, like to the Dynasty Warriors and like the Fist of the North Star game, and it's just like almost carbon copies of how to do DLC wrong, in my opinion.
Now,
I give Hyrule Warriors a fucking F. I shouldn't have to fucking. It's like you could take some of those packs and combine them into multiple packs into one thing. Give people a little bit better value. I feel like those prices are insane. The fucking amount of DLC is just crazy, and it pisses me off because I wanted to like that game.
The one thing I will say about Hyrule Warriors, though, you had the DLC packs. There were 4 of them. There was the Master Quest pack, Twilight Princess pack, the Majora's Mask pack, and the Boss pack, which individually, yes, it's a little bit extra money, but then you can buy all of them. It's called the Hero of Hyrule pack, and it includes all 4 DLC packs for a special price, and get a bonus in Darkling costume for $19.99. So in total,
but that's just that though. I mean, that's just one piece. I mean, one fucking piece. Go on the eShop, man, and it just goes on and on. Like, you could just keep scrolling down, and there's just fucking more and more DLC, dude. It's fucking crazy how much fucking DLC is for that game. It's fucking nuts. Like, the page for the DLC for Hyrule Warriors is by far the largest on the eShop. There's more DLC available for Hyrule Warriors than any fucking game on the eShop or from Nintendo, period. Like, that includes all the new stuff we're hearing about the Xenoblade coming out in Japan with a fucking day one DLC. And I heard that there's 5 packs, and each pack has, like, characters and special weapons and skins and then doll fucking parts or something, like blueprints, so that you can build these special mechs. It's fucking... I don't know, man. It sounds cool, but goddamn it, that pisses me off. It's just like, fuck. Somebody out there's gonna have that probably before I do, because I'm just like, fuck. I don't want to spend the extra money. I'm a really frugal fucking guy. Like, I don't have a lot of money to spend on games. I get spoiled by fucking Steam sales and stuff like that. This kind of shit really pisses me off. $140. That's a premium fucking price. Like, for that kind of price, I better be getting a premium fucking experience, in terms of not just the DLC, but the base game as well.
Right. I mean, I guess...
it makes you want to pull my fucking hair out.
Right. I mean, yeah, if you want to be, if you want to get every single bit of DLC, that's one thing. You can spend that much kind of money. But even the DLC packs, the Hero of Hyrule pack, all those 4 ones I mentioned earlier, for $19.99, I mean, that's... that'll still, for the money, it'll still provide a lot of content. So, when you talk about the value aspect of it, if we're just going to talk about those packs in a similar vein as the Mario Kart 8 packs, those are very good deals. But, like you were saying, it's those extra things, those costume packs or whatever. I don't even know all the DLC that Hyrule.
Oh my god! Just if you ever get a chance, go on the eShop and just like look at how much DLC there is. It's fucking overwhelming. It's like it's like going to like watch the shore at sunset and getting hit by a fucking tidal wave. Like it's fucking insane. You know what I mean? Rather than being subtle and complimentive, it just feels forced and fucking just like overwhelming. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those kind of deals that just scares me away 100%. Now, there is another thing that I want to discuss as far as DLC goes, because I feel like these are an extension of DLC, and that's Amiibo. And the fucking I like the Amiibo in the collectible sense. Like, I feel like I want these things to collect them more than anything else. That's just me. Like, I've played with them. I opened all of mine. I didn't collect them, like, in terms of I wasn't going to play with them. Like, of course I played with them. And I thought it was kind of fun to play with them with Smash. I'm not exactly sure about their value in terms of, you know, what you're getting out of the actual Amiibo experience, like, for your money. But, you know, the collectible value of these things is fucking, you know, exponential. We've already seen all kinds of fucking shit, you know, with people selling Amiibos for outrageous prices, and the defective Amiibos, and then the ones that are hard to find now, and then Nintendo's totally dropped the ball as far as they haven't supplied enough, and people are going nuts for fucking Amiibo. It's probably Nintendo's biggest success since the Wii is Amiibo.
It probably is. I mean, the thing about Amiibo is, or as Matt would call it, Amiibola.
Amiibola!
I mean, I like the fact that, you know, the figurines, they have the NFC chip on them, so you scan them with specific games, you get extra costumes or what have you. But, you know, that kind of stuff, you know, to me that's not incentive enough, you know.
Right.
For me, you know, the whole reason. Well, maybe I should rephrase that. One of the things that is is a big draw for Amiibo is, of course, the collector, you know, aspect. You know,
right.
For me though, if it provides, you know, extra content. Let's say let's say some of that Amiibo would take the place of some of that DLC, or take the price, let's say you can use a couple of Amiibo and it would pay for all that DLC for Hyrule Warriors or something like that. You know, would be nice to do that. Or like one of the things I even thought about is, well, we have all these virtual console games. Why not, you know, have one Amiibo, you know, allows you to basically get one free virtual console game, you know, to a character that's related to the ones you know. So we got Mario, you can get one of the Mario games. We got, you know, Samus, you can probably get Super Metroid or Metro Fusion or something like that.
Right.
You know, and they have something similar to that, but it's a trial. It's a trial. It's not, oh, you get, you know, free access to this. So, I mean, personally, I think, you know, considering the way how the virtual console is, I think they should just have you, if you have an Amiibo, just you should get, you know, one free virtual console game. But, you know, that's just me.
I like Amiibo a lot. I've bought a lot of Amiibos. Like, I could go over here and grab a bunch. I have like 16 or 17 of these things. And I kind of caught the bug, the Amiibo bug, where it's like I wanted to buy every Amiibo I saw, and I played with all of them, and I've ran them through Smash and leveled them up, and I dig Amiibo. I dig them as a Nintendo fan. You should dig them, you know. I played with them, you know. That I'm not really into the whole idea of like how these people are buying them up so quickly, and then like just to sell them off to like people like me that just kind of want one and want to have it with the rest of them, just to have my whole little collection and stuff and play with them every now and again. Like, I'm not keeping them in the package, and I'm not going around buying fucking Amiibo just so I can like rip some fucking poor Nintendo fan off. That kind of shit pisses me off. That I feel like Amiibo right now is Nintendo's biggest triumph, and it's also its greatest failure, because they've kind of like been really successful, but Nintendo hasn't been able to produce them properly to be able to capitalize on the success. You know what I mean? Like, I think once they're able to do that, the success of the Amiibo is going to drop off, like, you know what I mean, like a cliff. Because once these things are everywhere, the collectors are going to stop buying them up. You know what I mean? All the sales are going to go basically to the Nintendo fans, and then you're going to see everything drop off. It's like people thought this was like the comic boom in the 90s and shit, where they were producing so many of these comics that everybody bought them, and then eventually they were worth nothing. And that's what will happen with Amiibo if Nintendo decides to do what I hear they're doing, which is they're going to start reproducing the Amiibos and stuff in quantities for people to, so they have more opportunities to buy some of these Amiibo that are really hard to find, which is cool because it's kind of like, trying to give back to the fans who can't really get them. But if they don't produce enough of them, it's just going to be the same problem. But then if they produce too much, then the value of everybody's Amiibo is going to go down, and then people are going to start caring about them. The phenomenon will basically wane off, in my opinion.
I think another way to think about it, though, is that if Nintendo can provide extra content with all this Amiibo, all these Amiibo-compatible games, and actually make the, I don't know, incentives, the extra goodies that you can get worth it. Like I said, what if you purchased an Amiibo that was one of the compatible Amiibo with Mario Kart and allowed you to scan it and then you automatically got one of the DLC packs or something like that.
Right.
If they could do something like that, maybe the incentive and value of Amiibo would even be more than what it is now. And because like you said, right now it's more of a collector's item than anything. And I think the majority, I'm sure,
that are buying them are like keeping them in their plastic cases and shit, right?
I can guarantee they're doing something like that. But then,
which is sad, but
well,
I don't understand it as I see it from the fans' perspective in terms of I just want one. I don't need multiples. You know what I mean? I just want one. So it's like it's frustrating when I can't get my hands on one of these things because there are fucking hundreds of thousands of people out there buying like 3 or 4 of them, like getting their friends to buy them and shit so they can stockpile these motherfuckers and sell them out to people at fucking crazy prices. That fucking makes me want to punch myself in the face. It's fucking ridiculous. It makes me mad. It's like I love Amiibo, but I hate like having to go through all the bullshit. But then again, you can get any Amiibo that you want. I mean, you can get any Amiibo you want right now if you're willing to pay the price. It's not like the Amiibo aren't available. It's like they're there. Nintendo produced quite a bit of these things. It's just a kind of the collector's aspect of them drew all of these people that aren't necessarily Nintendo fans into buying Amiibo, in my opinion. And that's why it's harder for everybody else who's actually a Nintendo fan to get these things, is because everybody that's doing this, they're not real Nintendo fans. They're getting into the game because they heard somebody say, oh, these things are collectible, they're going to be worth money, this and that. I'm going to buy as many of these as I can, and then the people who are like trying to make money off of it, they're making lots of money off Amiibo. The scalpers are making tons of money off of this shit. I mean, you're talking about how much of an influx is that? A $15 figure selling for over $100. I mean, how much of a percentage increase is that? That's fucking insane. And think about if they get a lot of these things. Think about if they're selling a lot of these things. That's a lot of money.
A lot of money. I think with the Amiibo, though,
and none of that's going to Nintendo, except for the initial $15, like the rest of us pay. It's like it's not really in Nintendo's best interest for these scalpers to be involved, in my opinion, because they're not profiting from it. Everyone else is.
And well, here's another thing too. I don't think Nintendo. I mean, obviously, before the Amiibo came out, Nintendo was saying they're going to be successful.
Right.
What I don't think they knew was how successful it was going to be, because it's. I mean, before you know it, I think it's going to be selling more than there are Wii U's, out there. There's going to be multiple, Amiibo per Wii U system. I mean, that's probably to be expected, I guess, but it's selling at such a very fast rate compared to. Compared to anything they've sold recently. I mean, it's almost like the Wii,
this shit is hot. I mean,
but another thing with the Wii, though, is that the Wii was also had shortages as well.
Oh, a lot of this is not new with Nintendo. The shortages thing, it has happened again and again and again. I mean, they produce limited quantities of a lot of their consoles, a lot of their products, a lot of their games. They've done this all the way back to the NES. I mean, you can go all the way back to their arcade cabinets, actually. Because after their first one, I think it was Space War or something like that, they tried to bring that out, and it was a huge flop. And then eventually, Nintendo asked Miyamoto to make Donkey Kong, and then they brought out Donkey Kong, but they didn't bring it out originally like they didn't produce a lot of these things. They didn't start producing a lot of them until it became a huge hit. But this is how Nintendo does things. It's like ever since that first flop with that Space War fucking arcade game that they tried to release, they fucking have followed this kind of careful path as far as when they introduce new product, they always produce it in limited quantities. You know what I mean? The NES was only available when it first came out in '85, in New York. There was only available in boutiques in New York. They only released like 100,000 of these things, something like that. Like if you had a Nintendo back in that year, you were, pretty fucking lucky. You know what I mean?
Well, another thing is that, like you were saying, they have a tendency to release things in limited quantities. They don't want to, even mass produce. But here's the thing. They say limited quantities, but they don't tell you what this limited quantity is.
Right. We're all just guessing.
Like Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii.
Right.
It was because of Operation Rainfall, that's why they brought it over. And it was sold in limited quantities. But then also, in limited quantities, Metroid Prime Trilogy. Both of which I own. I also own Pandora's Tower and Last Story. Those latter two I haven't played yet. But they have a tendency to release things in limited quantities, and then they just somehow, I guess, they let the consumer drive the interest of it, and also the collectability of it. There are people out there that I remember about 10 years ago or so, someone was selling on eBay unopened, a sealed copy of Super Metroid and the Super NES, and I think it's sold for like $2,000 or something like that.
Right.
And
Nintendo games have a lot of value. I mean, not just the games, the consoles.
Right, and it's not just
Nintendo. They tend to increase in value because of their limited quantities. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Nintendo's smart enough to know when to stop producing shit. Like, I feel like Nintendo was kind of smart with the Amiibos in a way, because they wouldn't have been as big a success if they were all still on store shelves right now. Like, honestly, I feel like that, like the whole idea that you can't get one is what drove people to want to get them in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. In some respects, I think Nintendo honestly planned the shortages. Well, yes, there was the port strike, but I also think they probably planned some of the stuff in the first place because
they definitely used it to their advantage. Maybe they didn't understand how big of a hit Amiibo was going to be.
Right.
I mean, there's a good chance that's exactly what was the case. And Nintendo, they weren't sure about this. They didn't know if it was going to be a huge hit, and then all of a sudden it exploded, and they didn't really change their game plan when it came to Amiibo. It's like they saw the success of it, but they didn't react to the success. They just kept producing them the same way that they kind of had planned to produce them since the beginning. Like, they've been pretty steady about how they released the Amiibo in terms of not releasing enough, basically, for everybody to be able to get one.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose what Nintendo could do is, don't just sell things in limited quantities. Continue to, manufacture and sell them, but just adjust how many you're going to make depending on what the market says. So let's say the first few weeks a game sells 100,000 copies a week or something, and then afterwards it tells it like 75 or 50 or even 30. So you just adjust accordingly. And if you got extras, then just slow down production even more, and then eventually it'll catch up to you, but then you can start making more. It seems like what Nintendo does is they'll just make limited quantities, and then they'll just put their hands up and say, okay, we're done. We're not going to make any more. Go ahead and collect all you want. I mean, I don't know. It's
well, they're trying to make good on releasing more. And that's encouraging to hear from Nintendo. But at the same time, I mean, why wouldn't they want to release more of these things? Maybe not like flood the market with them, but you definitely want to produce more Amiibo. They're going to keep up. They're going to keep going with this Amiibo thing. I mean, it's just they got it. It makes money. The Amiibos are money. It's like money in the bank.
Yeah. It's extra money for them.
It's a total success. Like, at this point, they can't really lose with Amiibo, except for basically people being pissed off that they can't fucking buy one.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's one of the things. I've never.
It's a good problem for Nintendo to have, though, right, Shoulder?
What's that?
I said that's a great problem for Nintendo to have, though. Like, for people to be so angry that they can't buy this thing. Like, they want it so bad they can't buy it.
So here's what you do. Rather than bother to, sell these for all these retailers, just sell them on their freaking website. Sell them on Nintendo's own website. What's so hard about that? Why do you have to always go through a middleman or a third party to sell everything?
Yeah, it makes me wonder how much Nintendo's actually making off of each Amiibo.
What's that?
I saw it just makes me wonder, like percentage wise, how much Nintendo is like making off of each amiibo.
Well, yeah, and because Nintendo is obviously they have the eShop now. They can sell games and DLC, whatever they want, virtually or digitally. I'm sorry, so they can keep all the profits. They don't need all those many extra manufacturing costs, so they can keep more of the profits. Why don't they do the same thing by selling a lot of their amiibo in-house too? Why do they
It
have to?
makes sense to me.
At the same
I'd rather buy them direct from Nintendo than fucking have to go through anyone.
Well, yeah, especially with something like GameStop or anything like that. But
Right.
but at the same time, I'm also thinking that they're trying to establish, good PR, I guess, with these other retailers, so they can keep going. I guess they have these partnerships and collaborations. I'm sure.
But that's great, though. I think that that's good because them building themselves back up.
Well, yeah, and that's I
Because
think
now
that's
they're
the double
making
standard
profits
with it all.
again. They just posted,
We
what
want
was
them
it?
to sell.
Didn't they just post profits like for their last financial quarter for the first time in like a while?
Yeah, they're turning profits again. So I mean,
Without a doubt, that's got a lot to
never
do with
in the red to
Amiibo.
begin with, but they were seeing losses. So
They were seeing losses in terms of projections. I mean, they weren't really seeing losses in terms of like out of pocket money. Like really, that's kind of like what the difference is. Nintendo really wasn't. They weren't making the projected sales that they wanted to make. It wasn't that they weren't making money with the Wii U. Obviously, they're going to be making money. I mean, that's Nintendo. They're making money on every console per console sold, just like they're making money off every game per game sold. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, and it was just a case of they happened to spend more money than they made. It was simple economics right there. So, that's why they had those years of losses.
The Wii U didn't pan out the way that they had planned.
No,
We all know that.
And I don't think any amount of amiibo or extra DLC and stuff like that is going to make it, a success like the PS4 is right now.
Well, no, I'm not exactly sure that Amiibo is. I don't think Amiibo translates into the success for Wii U. It definitely translates to success for Nintendo, but I feel like a lot of people buying Amiibo don't even have a Nintendo fucking console. I mean, they don't even have a fucking Wii U. I feel like a lot of people that own Amiibos don't even have a Wii U or play a Wii U. They're buying the Amiibos like for the same reason everyone else is buying them, to sell them or to keep them and like hope that they'll be worth $1 bazillion someday. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's ridiculous, dude. And it makes me mad. Fucking my poor Amiibos. There's like 5 or 6 I really want bad, and I can't get them.
I wanted to choke Amiibo, actually, to be honest.
I kind of stand up, like, put my foot down, and I'm just like, I'm not going to pay the scalpers, you know what I mean? I'm going to try and, it's like more fun. It's like a treasure hunt for me with Amiibo. I like to go looking for them, and sometimes you find some.
Honestly, when it comes to the Amiibo, I'd rather give Nintendo my own money than give a scalper or some other person.
Yeah, I mean, but at least when you go to store, like, it's not near as bad as like having to pay a scalper like 5 or 6 times the value of these goddamn things. It's ridiculous. All in all, though, I have to say I like Amiibo. I like where Amiibo's going. I feel like Nintendo's gonna print money with Amiibo.
And I think if they could tie in the Amiibo with, some DLC and stuff like that, rather than just, characters and stuff like that, with actual DLC and stuff like that, maybe there'd be more incentive for people to get it, and then, maybe more people will be happy because now they actually have, not just, DLC for just, paying for DLC for just one game. We could probably go through multiple DLC, packs for different games or something like that.
Right. We're already seeing that, though, like multiple functions for single Amiibos, like with multiple games.
Yeah.
Like with Mario Kart 8 and with Smash. And of course, you're probably going to see more of that kind of value in the future in terms of their functionality. But, I mean, as far as their function goes, I haven't really seen too much in terms of the Amiibo stuff that has excited me. I like the Mario Kart Mii outfits a lot. I really dig those. Like the Mega Man one and the Bowser one. I like them all. The Luigi one. It's pretty cool. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised by that little perk. It's like the only thing you can use it for in Mario Kart 8 is for your Mii outfit or whatever. It's pretty fucking cool, though. I actually thought it was really neat. Even though it's just a little touch, It's a good one. I like it a lot. Because, I mean, it's just sitting there, like, waiting to be unlocked. It's cool, like, to tap your Amiibo on it, and then all of a sudden, you have this this thing you didn't have before, and it's kind of neat, like to say like, oh, like to associate that with the figure. Like I have this figure, so I can get this DLC kind of deal. It's pretty. It's a neat connection, and something that's not really available any other way, except for like Skylanders and the Disney Infinity type of experiences, which is what Amiibo pretty much is ripping off. I like the way Nintendo's doing it a lot better than Disney Infinity and the Skylanders games, though, because it's like you said, they have multiple functions. You can use them for multiple games. They're multifaceted. It's just more interesting to me the way that Nintendo is using the figure kind of DLC. It's pretty cool. I like it a lot. Hopefully, I'll be able to find the amiibo I want, because it makes me sad that I can't get them. Shoulder, is there anything else you want to discuss as far as the DLC situation or Nintendo's DLC situation? Any words of wisdom that we haven't already covered?
I mean, just I guess one last thing is, I think DLC is both good and bad. So it's good when it provides really good value for the customer, but when you start penny pinching everything, that's when I think DLC is just, and especially when you get like day one DLC, and then on disc DLC, and then of course a year later they'll come out with the Game of the Year edition with all the DLC included, with the exception of Nintendo, because I don't think Nintendo will do that. Or at least right now anyway. But who knows? Maybe I'll be surprised. But, it's a case of, if you're going to buy a game that has a lot of DLC, wait for the Game of the Year edition or something like that, and then it'll come with all the DLC, and it'll be a fraction of the price. They'll come out with a complete edition, or Game of the Year edition, definitive edition, whatever edition there is. It'll have all the DLC, and there you go. If it's a game unless it's a game you really absolutely have to have. Obviously, if it's a multiplayer game, that's kind of, based on what the market is like and where the players are and whatnot. So I think, I still like the idea of having extra content after the game has been released. But there to me has to be a balance, between, what's considered fair for the consumer, but then you're also not, and trying to keep the game going on, and then, obviously not trying to be too greedy, I guess. So,
right.
There's a lot of different ways it can be handled. So, but, I don't think the way Nintendo is doing it is necessarily a bad thing. I think they are, at least right now anyway, I think they're a little bit more smart about it. Obviously, Pikmin 3 had a lot of DLC packs, like maps 1 through 3, and then you have like 4 through 6 or whatever it was. So you have those included, and those are like $3 or $4, I think. So you have all that, but it'll be interesting to see if they will expand even more in the future, and sort of what else can they maybe even have it so it provides more incentives for the consumer and whatnot. And also if they have games that they're going to last 3 to 5 years, would it actually be better for them to have, let's say, continuous DLC throughout that time, or would you just be rather off making a game in, let's say, in 2 years, and then just coming with a whole new game with all that DLC you would have bought, but as part of another game or something?
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens. It'll be interesting to see what happens the rest of the year, especially with E3 coming up.
Oh man, E3! I got to put together the TN3 thing, and I got to make sure I take time off from work and all this stuff. It's gonna be fucking active, man.
I will see if I can maybe take 1 day off of work, but I'm not going to make any guarantees there.
I'm taking Nintendo's day off. I don't care if it's a direct, and I don't give a shit if they're at E3. I take the day off just to watch the direct, and I'm going to get everybody together just like we did last year. Just hopefully I'll be able to do it on the Google Hangout, so that way everybody can participate all at the same time. It should be a lot of fun if I can get it to work.
I'm sure you could probably get it to work. So.
I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to be all like MacGyver on that shit. Ooh, that sounds like a good way to close out the show. Was there any shots out, any kind of plugs or anything you want to give out? Anything you want to say? Shoulder, go for it, man. I'm good about letting you do your thing.
Not really.
All right, well, shoulders.
No shout outs. No, then you're all crap.
No shout outs. Well, I'll give him a shout out. He's got the shoulder shenanigans. He's kind of slowly, starting to build videos, but he's been real busy lately. So look for, shoulder shenanigans here in the future. Chip off, shoulder to chip in with a lot of new videos in the future. I can't wait to see like what you finally do when you do like get the ball rolling, because it's going to be really interesting.
I think once I get one of them out there, because I already got a couple in planning and stuff like that, and one of them I already kind of started working on. But once I get, I think, one going, I think it'll be easier from then on. So I'm hoping to have more content and whatnot. So we'll see.
Right on, man. Well, I was glad to have you on the show. It's been a while since I had a guest on, man. So it was really nice to have you on, and we started talking about this in the chat and turned into a goddamn new episode of Teeny Blues. So make sure you catch me in the chat if you want to get on the show. I mean, I think Chris is going to come on next time, and I think I'm going to try and do some more guest interviews this month, like before we start leading up into the TNE3 thing. And
I look forward to Mr. Chris to see what he has to say.
Well, yeah, I want to get him on, let him plug his fucking show, and he's got that 8-Brit show, and he's doing a lot of things like on another site and stuff, and I'll let him talk about all of it. It'll be real interesting.
Cool.
And just fucking for shits and giggles sake, I just want to let you guys know, if you noticed on the media section, I am not putting Teeny Blues on there, and I'm doing that on purpose. I'm not going to whore myself out on the media section in terms of just filling it up with Teeny Blues. I got my thread for that. So if you guys want to check out Teeny Blues, I put it in the media section for probably about a week, and then I take it back down again as to not clog it up and leave a lot of room up there to for you guys to put your stuff up, because basically that's how I feel. I feel like it should be for y'all, you know what I mean? So I just want to let you know, like, it's only up there for a limited time. It'll be up there for about 4 or 5 days, and then if you can't find it anymore, just look in the Teeny Blues thread. It'll be there if you ever want to, go back and watch any of the shows or check out any of my special guests like Shelby, and just have fun. So thanks for being on the show, guys. And Shoulder picked this he picked this fucking song to take us out with, so I'm gonna play that for you guys. And thanks again for coming on the show, Shoulder.
Yep, you're welcome, Dallas. Thank you.
Hey, man, no problem. Anytime, Mr. Playwright, fucking Rico Suave.
Peace out.
Oh my God!
I can hear you. Strong to playing. That was fun. Had to mix it for the fuck up early, earlier this year.